Last time we talked about ContextKeep, the big upgrade was Docker. One command, cleaner deployment, easier home lab life, and no more fighting with manual setup just to give your AI a memory server. But this update is different. ContextKeep version 2.1 Atlas is not just another small feature release. This is the update where the project gets a real database. Proper full-text search, user-manageable categories, safer Docker defaults, backup-first upgrades, and a sanity check tool that tells you whether your AI client is even connected to the same memory database as the WebUI. And if you have ever had an AI say memory saved while the dashboard is sitting there like, no it isn't, you already know why that matters. So today I want to show you why Atlas is such a big deal, what changed from versions 1.2 and 1.3, what breaks from the old workflow, and why this is the version where ContextKeep starts feeling less like a cool AI experiment and more like actual infrastructure. Hey guys, welcome back to GeekJ, where we make tech, tutorials, and gaming simpler and better. I'm John, and today we are back with ContextKeep, my open source MCP memory server for AI agents like Claude, Claude Code, Gemini, Codex, Cursor, OpenCode, Antigravity, and basically any client that can talk to MCP. If you watched the older videos, you already know the story. So version 1.2 Obsidian Lab was the My AI finally stops forgetting everything release. Version 1.3 Harbor was the okay, now it runs properly in Docker release. And version 2.1 Atlas is the now this thing is serious release basically. So if you're already using ContextKeep, you need to understand this update before you upgrade because there are breaking changes. If you're brand new, don't worry. I'll give you the quick version of what ContextKeep is. Then we're going straight into the Atlas upgrade. So let's dive in. So for anyone new, here is the short version. Most AI assistants have terrible long-term memory by default. You explain your project, your PC setup, your workflow rules, your YouTube process, your repo structure, your preferences, and all the weird little details that make your work basically. Then the session ends and tomorrow the AI is back to, hello, how can I help you today? And you're sitting there like, come on, we literally talked about this yesterday. And this does happen with everything. Claude Code, like anything you can imagine. If you're using Codex and you're trying to, break off the web interfaces of all these AIs to take, the step up kind of route. But yeah, it just inevitably happens. And yeah, ContextKeep fixes that by giving MCP-compatible AI agents a persistent searchable memory server. The agent can store memories, search them, retrieve the exact record it needs, check recent work, export the memory library, and now in version 2.1, organize everything with real categories. So the whole idea is simple: stop starting from zero. And also it helps you break away from sticking just with one specific, let's say, IDE or one specific AI because it has all your data now. But with ContextKeep, you can use whatever you want, whenever you want, and you can just go with the most powerful or flexible or the AI that mostly fits your needs at that point in time, which is really, really important in the day and age we live in, because today one model is really strong. Tomorrow you want to use OpenClaw or Hermes and it's like a completely different instance, and then the day after you will be like, okay, I want to use Claude Code for something, or Codex because GPT 5.5 is now the smartest or fits my needs perfectly for this project. And all of these AIs are pretty much cut off from each other. But with ContextKeep, this is fixed now. Everything has a unified memory if you choose to connect it to the MCP server. So in my actual workflow, ContextKeep works project notes, GeekJ video rules, hardware details, deployment logs, troubleshooting records, and all the context I do not want to keep re-explaining every time I open a new AI session for any of my projects or even for new projects. And that was always the goal. But as the project grew, the old design started showing its limits basically. And that is exactly why Atlas had to happen. So the older versions worked. I use them every day. But there's a difference between a tool that works when the library is small and a tool that still feels good when it becomes part of your daily workflow and the library becomes bigger and bigger. Version 1.2 added the memory directory tool, and at the time that was huge. The agent could list the memory library, find the exact key, and retrieve the right thing instead of guessing from search results. That solved a real problem at that time, but as the memory count grew, dumping the whole directory became the brute force option basically. It works, but it is not elegant. Then version 1.3 added Docker, which made deployment much easier, but Docker also exposed another problem. If your WebUI and your MCP server are accidentally pointed at different data stores, everything gets confusing very, very fast. So we would get the AI saying that the memory was saved, the WebUI says this never happened, that memory was nowhere to be found, and you start checking configs, restarting clients, wondering if you broke something and generally having a lovely time. And the old tag system also needed to grow up. Tags, they were useful, but they were not a real user-managed structure. You could label memories, but could not treat your memory library like a proper organized knowledge base. So Atlas attacks the real problems: storage, search, organization, client correctness, and upgrade safety. That is why this update is not just new buttons. This is the reliability update. The headline feature is simple. ContextKeep version 2.1 moves from JSON-style storage to SQLite. And I know SQLite database does not sound like the kind of thing that makes normal people jump out of their chair cheering or something, but for an AI memory server, this is exactly the kind of boring upgrade you actually want. Your memories, categories, edit history, schema metadata, and database identity now live in one proper local database file. No cloud account, obviously, no subscription, no giant database server to babysit, just a local SQLite database that is easier to back up, easier to move, and much better suited for a memory system that keeps growing. And because version 2.1 uses FTS5, search is now proper full text search. And that matters because AI memory is only useful if the agent can find the right thing when it needs it. A memory that exists but cannot be found is basically useless. Very dramatic, I know, very annoying. 0 stars, probably. But with SQLite and FTS5, Atlas gives ContextKeep a much stronger foundation. This is where the real database part of the title comes from. The next big change is categories. In version 2.1, tags are replaced by user-editable categories, and a memory can belong to more than one category. This sounds small until you actually start using it. For example, a GeekJ video memory might belong to content and media and projects. A deployment node might belong to configuration and settings, projects and workflows, and automation. A hardware node belongs under hardware and infrastructure without pretending it is just a random text tag. And categories are not locked. You can create them, rename them, merge them, delete empty ones, and reassign memories. And that is a much better fit for how a real memory library grows. Your structure can change as your work changes. And if you're upgrading from older versions, your old tags are preserved as legacy tag metadata. They're not just thrown into the void. But going forward, the active workflow is categories. For humans, that makes the WebUI easier to browse. For agents, it gives them a cleaner way to narrow the memory library before pulling exact records. Now we need to talk about the breaking change. List all memories is gone completely. And yes, I know in the version 1.2 video, I made a big deal about that tool. It was the right decision for that version, but Atlas has a better structure now. The new retrieval flow is as follows. First, we list categories, list memories, retrieve memories. And this is the new normal from now on. The agent starts by checking the live category list, then it lists memories in the relevant categories, then it retrieves the exact memory by key. Search still exists and it is important, but search is for discovery. If search finds a candidate, the agent should still retrieve the exact memory before relying on it. That is how you stop vague. I found something like this behavior from turning into bad context. Version 2.1 now exposes 16 MCP tools. You still have store, retrieve, search, recent memories, stats, export, and delete. But now you also get category management tools, category assignment tools, edit history, and the new server identity tool. And that identity tool is one of my favorite parts of the entire release. The new tool is called ContextKeep Info, and I know that name sounds like pure developer poetry or something, but this tool is extremely important. It tells you the ContextKeep version, schema version, storage backend, storage path, database ID, tool list, and migration status. In plain English, it tells you what your AI client is actually connected to. And that matters because your server can be healthy and still be the wrong server. Your AI client can happily store memories into one database while your WebUI is showing another one. And that is the split database problem. And once you have seen it happen like I did, you never want to troubleshoot practically blind ever again. So after you configure a client, call ContextKeep Info before storing anything important. Then compare it with the WebUI info. If the version is 2.1.0, the schema is 2, the tool list has the version 2.1 tools, and the database ID matches the WebUI, you are good. If you still see list all memories, you are on the wrong tool schema basically. If the database ID does not match, you're not looking at the same database. If the storage path is wrong, same problem. This turns why my memory is missing from a whole troubleshooting adventure into a quick sanity check basically. And honestly, that is exactly the kind of practical feature I love. Boring proof beats vibes every time. Docker also got cleaned up in version 2.1. The default Docker setup now runs the WebUI and MCP server in one service named ContextKeep using one shared database path. Inside Docker, that path is usually app/data/contextkeep.db, and that is important. With separate containers, it is too easy to accidentally give the WebUI one database and the MCP server another one, and everything looks like it started correctly. The ports are open, the containers are running, the logs look fine, but your dashboard and your AI client are living in different realities in case you have the aforementioned problem. So version 2.1 removes that normal install failure mode by default. Fresh install is still very simple. Docker compose app -d --build. If you have an existing install, use the safe upgrade wrapper. And after the upgrade, do not just assume everything is fine because the container is running. Open the WebUI info, just like so. Call ContextKeep info from your AI client. Just like so, as you can see over here. and we can confirm the database ID, storage path, and memory count. If I go back to the WebUI, you can see we are golden. And we can click on this info button over here if we want to confirm our database ID as well, and all the storage path and everything else. Trust but verify, because computers are computers. Now let's talk upgrades. Atlas is very clear about this. No verified backup, no upgrade. That is the rule. The version 2.1 upgrade wrapper creates a backup before continuing, verifies the archive, checks hashes, checks SQLite integrity, validates all JSON memories if you're migrating from version 1.x something, and only then moves forward. And for version 1 JSON migration, you point the wrapper at your old memories folder with the version 1 source option. And basically, you can find all these details on the ContextKeep GitHub page. I will have a link for it in the description below. And you can see everything is still maintained here. So fresh bare metal installs if you still want to go that route, even with version 2.1. And you can see I have included Linux and Mac OS, Windows PowerShell, and I've also listed all the MCP tools. It is now 16 tools. You don't need to memorize these, because these are mostly used by the agent themselves, and I probably most of the time just do stuff in the WebUI. Every backup includes a manifest and restore instructions, and that is exactly how a memory tool should behave. If a tool is holding months of project context, it should be paranoid about upgrades, basically, because losing a test setting is, annoying. Losing your entire AI memory library is a very different level of not fun, basically. So Atlas makes the boring safety work part of the workflow, and basically this is very good because that is what I want from my AI agents and from infrastructure. I don't want to do the boring stuff. I want to have built-in fail-safes that will, prevent all that stuff from happening. Now, quick client config warning, because this one absolutely matters and it can make you go a little crazy. Most HTTP MCP clients use the standard URL key. So for Codex, Gemini CLI, OpenCode, and most standard MCP clients, you point them at, let's say, HTTP : / your host ID or whatever you use if you use Tailscale, and then you point them to the correct port, 5100/MCP if you use the defaults, but anti-gravity, the IDE, uses server URL, not URL, server URL. So if you use the wrong key in anti-gravity, the server may not load correctly, or the client may keep showing old cache tools. And if a client is still showing, list of memories, that is a clue that it's trying to use old stuff. But yeah, the checklist is remove old SSH or SCDIN ContextKeep entries, point the client at the version 2.1 MCP endpoint, use server URL for anti-gravity, and then we're just gonna restart the client, and we're gonna ask it to call the get_ContextKeep_info. It is not glamorous, but it saves a lot of pain. Now for a quick demo, I want to show you the WebUI. And as you can see over here on the left side, we have the category system. We have some cool animations over here that keep everything compact as the categories might grow, bigger. And let's just, for demonstration purposes, create a category. I'm gonna go with test_category1. We can add any icon label we want. So instead of folder, I don't know, I can do spoon. don't ask me why, and then add a description, and then I'm just gonna save this category. And as you can see, the category is right here, and we can basically go inside. There are no memories in it right now. We can create a new memory over here. So if we create the memory, we can add keys. We can obviously type in a human readable name, which is going to be easier for us. And then we can point it to more than one categories at a time, so it doesn't have to be just a single category anymore. Now I can edit the category itself, so I can do, for example, test category GeekJ instead of one. I can do, let's say, fork instead of spoon, and then save the category over here. And as you can see, it is here. It hasn't created any multiples. It is just a singular category over here. And I can also delete this category as well. But before we do that, let's create a test memory over here. When we create a memory, when we are already in a category, it's going to be automatically checked, and then we can add it to different categories. We don't need that. This is a test memory, and then I'm going to click on this create memory. And if we try to delete the category while there are memories inside it, ContextKeep will actually ask us to reassign the memories in some other category, so the memory is not lost. And as you can see, we have access to all of our categories over here. Now, if we don't want to do that, we can just simply delete the memory we just created, and we can see that it says it's going to be deleted permanently, so be careful with these options. And then we can delete this category over here, and it is empty and can be deleted. As you can see, we get another message over here telling us that it can safely be deleted because this category has no memories inside of it. So there it is, poof, gone. As I showed moments ago, you can see over here we have the database ID and the storage path of our ContextKeep.db file. And if we go back to Codex over here, you can see that we can compare the database ID and the version, which is 2.1.0, and how many memories we have. It's 281, and this is the SQLite storage path, and they share the exact same location, and they are the exact same numbers basically. So yeah, we can confirm the same database ID, same storage path, same memory count. So green lights all the way, yay! Now we can ask for a memory. So I can ask, for example, what are the specs of my Windows 11 computer? Let's see what we get. And as you can see, the agent listed categories, then listed memories in the right category, and it retrieved the exact memory by key. So there was no guessing over there, as you saw while it was thinking. So it listed categories, as you can see over here. Then it is basically informing us that it found a dedicated hardware and infrastructure category, as you can see over here, and it searched memories, and eventually it found the correct memory. It did some double checks to see what is the most recent memory and if things need to be updated, and eventually it gave us the full system specs. Now I can do a little more of a fuzzy search, and this is gonna showcase basically the FTS5 pulling back relevant memories. So let's ask the AI, what is the most recent upload I made on my GitHub? Let's see. So as you can see over here, it used both the local memories, and then it confirmed that this is the actual truth by visiting my GitHub profile over here, and it does even give me a direct link to ContextKeep version 2.1 Atlas release, and it is telling me that these are the latest updates or uploads I made on GitHub. Even when the wording is not exact, we get the correct memories, and depending on how smart the agent you're using is, it's going to try to confirm it in other ways as well. So, should you upgrade? If you're brand new to ContextKeep, start with version 2.1, 100%. Do not start on the older versions unless you have a specific reason, I don't know, or you're weird. If you're already on version 1.2 or 1.3, yes, I would upgrade again 1000%, but treat it like a real migration. Read the upgrade guide, run the backup first wrapper, update your client configs, update your agent directives, and basically confirm the tool list as well. Confirm the database ID as I showed before with just one command. Do the boring checks, which is just a one-time thing, and future you will be very happy you did. If you're on a custom Docker setup, slow down for 5 minutes and check your service name, volume name, and mounted data path before touching anything. And if you use container auto update tools, be careful, like Watchtower or something. The safe upgrade tooling can verify backups before it changes things. An unattended container update cannot stop and ask whether your backup is actually good. So the goal is not just to be on the newest version. The goal is to protect the context and your memories. But yeah, I would 1000%, 1,000,000% upgrade, because with the JSON files, as your memories increase and the tools only having, list all memories and then the agent trying to scheme through all of them to find the correct memory, also becoming a problem, because just listing all the memories, if you have a lot of memories, it can bog down your context and tokens as well. So going from that to the categories and being able to categorize by yourself, and allowing the agent to also create new categories when it sees fit and stuff like that, or you can instruct the agent to create new categories. It just makes it a lot more logical, easier, and it doesn't bog down the speed or even the token usage or your context usage for each conversation. So what comes after Atlas? This release clears a lot of foundation work, at least for how the project is in my brain so far. Now ContextKeep has a stronger storage layer, real category management, better retrieval flow, safer Docker defaults, and a way to prove server identity before trusting it. And that opens the door for more polish, basically. Better dashboard workflows, smarter category-aware prompts for agents, better analytics around memory usage, more import and export improvements, maybe more ways to help agents use memory without getting lazy or overconfident, because I've seen that happen, especially with the smarter models. And as always, GitHub issues are open. So if you try version 2.1 and something feels clunky, or you discover there's a bug or something, please tell me so I can try and figure it out. If you have an idea that would make ContextKeep better for your own AI workflow, open an issue. And yeah, that is how Harbor basically happened. Someone asked for Docker, the community jumped in, and now the project is better because of you guys. So that is ContextKeep version 2.1 Atlas. Version 1.2 made the memory idea kind of real and public. Version 1.3 made it easier to run, and version 2.1 gives it the grown-up foundation: SQLite, FTS5 certs, category 16 MCP tools, safer Docker, backup first upgrades, and a proper way to verify that your AI client and WebUI are using the same database. And this is why this title is AI Memory Just Got Serious. I think I'm leaning strongly toward this title. And if you're tired of AI tools for getting your projects, or if you're working with multiple different, let's say, AI tools or IEDs, and you want them to have the same memories so they can continue one after the other, you know, you can have your own rules. It will remember everything, your own setup, and all the context you already explained like a million times before. It's going to be there for all of them if you decide to connect them to this one MCP tool. And remember, ContextKeep is free, open source, and available on GitHub at morethanG7/ContextKeep. Again, links, you're going to find them all in the description below, you know. If this helped you build a smarter AI workflow, smash that like button, subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a GeekJ video. If you want to support the channel further, consider joining the GeekJ squad. Members get loyalty badges, custom emojis, priority replies, members only posts, early access polls, shoutouts, credits, and behind the scenes access at the higher tiers. And if you do not want a membership but still want to support the channel, super thanks is always appreciated and it helps me keep building and testing these projects properly, basically. Massive shout out to my channel architects, ParisSTR and Kostas Dadi. You guys are legends and keep this thing going. Drop your ContextKeep count memory in the comments below and tell me which client you are connecting first. Claude, Gemini, Codex, Cursor, OpenCode, Antigravity, or something else, or all of them, just like me, because I like testing with a lot of different agents. I do a lot of tests with local models and stuff. So yeah, I read every single one of your comments, and as always, I'm gonna see you in the next one. Bye-bye, bye, bye.